Can't believe it's the last edition of the week already here on WagerTalk Extra. I'm your host, Dan Alexander, and we're here every Wednesday, every Tuesday, every Thursday to remind you that no matter what sport you're cashing on, that money is so green, and they will accept it wherever you're going to spend your money. We have the most jam-packed edition yet here of WagerTalk Extra. Due to some scheduling issues, we have 4 great guests today. So we're going to have Andy Lang up first. We're going to talk a little auto racing, one of the most profitable sports that he has bet in his time at WagerTalk. We got Kyle Anthony and Moneyline Matt giving you their thoughts on the UFC 285 card. They're going to break down main events, some undercard fights as well. And you can check back to yesterday's episode if you want to get Andy's thought. Which fight do we think we'll see blood in? Just check out on WagerTalk YouTube channel to find out what we're eyeing. And then Kevin Dolan's going to shut it down for us. We're going to talk a little boxing. We're going to talk a little soccer. So now you know what we have on the jam-packed edition. So let's get right into it. And welcome in Andy Lang, shutting down the week for us with a little NASCAR, a little F1. And Andy, I said it there. Auto racing has been your bread and butter since you got here. And we'll start off by talking life in the fast lane. This was a standalone show. Now it's hosted here inside of WagerTalk Extra. And we used to do a little something called the Stenhouse Award. And I loved it because it would be you breaking down the mistakes, the mishaps, and the sheer mirth that you do it with. I get so excited. So Stenhouse Award, I gave a brief overview. Are we handing one out here to start the show?
Absolutely. We couldn't do it the first week in NASCAR because he won the race. So I figure we need to just kind of, push it off to the side, let him have his glory. But did he make a triumphant return. So if you're new to the show, the Stenhouse Award is based on Ricky Stenhouse's just mishaps and running into people and mistakes and doing things that he shouldn't do. So this is the biggest mess up or one of the funniest things that we've seen over the race weekend. And it's going to get really good once we get Formula One races involved in this. But we have 4 nominees this week. We have Corey LaJoie getting loose, and he runs into Brad Keselowski. And of course, he spins Brad Keselowski, but he doesn't spin himself. So he takes out somebody else, despite the fact he was the one that screwed up. Daniel Suarez is running in second place. Don't speed in the pits. Up too fast. Too fast entering. You're running second. And it's too bad because he ended up finishing 4th. That's how good his car was. But when you're running second, you just can't speed in the pits. And the third nominee, Martin Truex's crew, they screw up the pit stop. They don't tighten the wheel. He goes out onto the track. He tries to make it around for one lap. It doesn't. The wheel comes flying off. So nice to see the Truex crew is hitting their midseason form early. But the last nominee and the winner is, of course, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. They have a restart. Ricky Stenhouse slams on the brakes, and it just accordions the entire field. AJ Allmendinger ends up wrecking. Again, we have a guy that causes a wreck. He doesn't wreck. Somebody else does. And the reason this is the winner is we actually had a bet, AJ Allmendinger over Ricky Stenhouse. So Stenhouse managed to wreck the guy that we bet on over him. So great job, Stenhouse. It's nice to see him back in the winner's circle. Not in winner's circle winning a race, but winning his own award, the Stenhouse Award. So that's the winner this week, Ricky Stenhouse.
Forget winning a race. The Stenhouse Award handed out by a giggling Andy Lang is better than anything anyone can get. So, man, as far as this week goes, where are we racing? I believe Vegas is the site of the track, but what can fans expect coming this weekend? And you also have a free play that we'll get to in just a moment, but just start with what we have going on this weekend and how you're kind of going to be betting this race.
This is going to be a really, really fast track, full throttle. This is at Las Vegas. It's going to be hot and really, really fast. So expect kind of more of the same of what we saw last week. The track last week and this week are very comparable. And what did we see? We saw Chevrolets dominate, finish 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then we had Suarez and Chastain on the same team. And we saw Kyle Busch, who looked great in his new car. And the word out of the garage is that those RCR cars, Kyle Busch included, look like they may have the best engines. So We saw Chase Elliott in a Chevrolet for Team Hendricks finish up inside the top 3. He was runner up, but it just looks like who has the top end? Who are we looking to support in some of these bets to start the season? It's going to be your Chevrolets. So whenever you're looking up and down and you see a matchup that the drivers look equal, but one's in the Chevrolet and one's in Toyota, I'm going to be leaning Chevrolet, and that's just going to be our best bet. We're going to look at Chase Elliott top 10, and you're getting it at minus 145. This is a championship winner. This is a guy in one of the best teams, and this is a guy in the best manufacturer right now, Chase Elliott. He finished second, despite the fact he started outside the top 30. Minus 145. If this guy has a good practice session and he qualifies good, this thing's going to be minus 200. So jump on it right now. It doesn't matter where Chase Elliott starts. Team Hendricks and that strong Chevy are going to end up inside the top 10 as long as they keep the car clean. So yeah, Chase Elliott minus 145. Offhand, it may look a little bit juicy, but getting Chase Elliott top 10 at minus 145, you're not going to get much better of a price than that.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that I learned from producing A Life in the Fast Lane with you last year was sometimes you want to wait for qualifying. Other times you got to grab a price when you get it now. This is one of those times you want to hop on that Chase Elliott. Top 10, it's minus 145, but why lay minus 200 when you can get it right here on a Thursday edition? Andy, before we take a look at the slipstream, talk a little F1, what do you have locked and loaded for this weekend? I know you're excited with 2 races going. We have UFC action, so people head on over to your page, wt.buzz/AL. They will find a cavalcade of action that I'm sure you're pretty excited about.
Yeah, well, we have a lot of futures for Formula One, and we just included that in the racing pack this week. So if you get it, you're going to get all of our plays for Formula One, all of our plays for NASCAR, and you're going to get all of our futures. So there's a ton right now. We have a 5% UFC play that is up. We're number 1 in MMA profits this year, and on an 8-1 run in NBA, 27-16 run in NHL. We're doing great. It's just a great year. But man, now that auto racing is back upon us, we really look to add to the profits there. So a lot of good plays. These tracks are very bettable, and I think we got a good read on NASCAR and Formula One right now.
Yeah, auto racing for Andy Lang, one of the things that I will always blindly back. That and golf. I mean, he's turning a profit 7 out of 8 tournaments. So all kinds of action that you can find. Check it out over there at his page at WagerTalk.com. All right, Andy, to quote you, let's take a trip to the slipstream and talk a little F1. Where's the race this weekend, and what can we expect from this track setup that they'll have?
Well, racing at Bahrain, and with this being the first race, all eyes are what happened at the testing over the weekend. And here's the big takeaways. Red Bull is out in front of everybody. I've been jumping up and down screaming, saying take Max Verstappen at plus money to win the race. What happened? He was the best at testing. Ferrari was pretty good. They've got concerns about tire degradation. Mercedes has got some problems. And the big surprise, I would say, is the Aston Martins. They were lightning fast. That kind of, I don't want to say it came out of nowhere, but they were a real surprise. I think they compete with Mercedes this weekend. Alpines look to be pretty good. One of the issues with Aston Martin is one of their drivers, Lance Stroll, who is awful. He's one of the worst drivers in Formula One, maybe the worst. He didn't get any testing time in because of an injury. He'll be racing this weekend, so you're definitely looking at fading Lance Stroll if he's matched up against his teammate. This should be a Max Verstappen race. They showed reliability. They showed their new car setup was dialed in better than just about everybody's. I think this is a Red Bull race. While the other teams are still trying to tweak their setups, I think Red Bull has hit the ground running. You see a couple of those long straightaways that benefits Red Bull. Ferrari was really good in this race last year. I'm not sure we see the same results as their tire degradation is a real concern. We'll see if they can fix that in practice. But like I've been saying for the last couple of weeks, Max Verstappen to win is your play here. It's still a good price. It's minus 125. But if this guy gets on the pole, again, this is going to be minus 175, minus 180. I'm going to be supporting Red Bull in this one. I'm also going to be supporting the Ferraris over the Mercedes. And the worst team out of testing was McLaren. McLaren missed their setups completely. They've said they're very behind, so you're looking to fade McLaren's as well.
Looking to fade the McLarens as well. And our great producer behind the scene who does a terrific job, Eric, you can just clip, this is a Max Verstappen race. And then whenever I throw it to Andy for the slipstream, we can typicly just play, yeah, this is a Max Verstappen race. So that's just how it works
Absolutely.
out. Grab his plays right now at wt.buzz/AL. And make sure you check out this week's edition earlier this week's edition, of Wager Talk Extra, because Andy gives his full thoughts on the UFC card, because we're going to have back-to-back UFC guests coming up here to have you ready for the entire card. We're going to talk main event coming up with Kyle Anthony right after this here on Wager Talk Extra. And now it's time to welcome in who our fearless leader, Lawrence Presman, a.k.a. the Prez, calls like the best looking guest ever. He does it every single time he comes on. I think he's truly hitting on you. Kyle Anthony, we're going to talk a little UFC here, man. And dude, before we get into these fights specifically, you're going to talk the main event. You have a fight to watch as well. Absolutely loaded card. And you have a 5%er that you're rocking for this weekend. So I know you're more than excited about this weekend's UFC action.
Absolutely, man. This is a loaded card, good spots all around. My problem was I was trying to consolidate. I'm like, I gotta bring it in a little bit. There's so much I like, but got the 5% up right now, going for 6 straight on the max plays. So feeling good, man. Ready to rock.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's get into it, because I mean, this headline fight, let's do a little main event breakdown here with Kyle Anthony. It's Jones, it's Gane, and oh my goodness, this is the step up for Jones. I will say, I'm interested to see your breakdown, because just as like a UFC fan who's, more, I guess, on the outside looking in, I don't know, whenever you're hopping up to heavyweight, it's a whole different beast. So how are you breaking down this main event?
Yeah, this one here, I mean, the first thing is I think this is going to be a 25-minute kickboxing match. I know I'm not going to dive into too much, but I know that a lot of people are thinking maybe Jones is going to look through these takedowns. Gane was taken down by Ngannou. There are those things when you're looking at it. But I think the biggest part of this fight is two big main glaring things. And the first one's going to be the fact he's moving up in weight. And you just touched on it. He's moving up in weight. This is really, really important and very difficult for a lot of fighters to either move up, either move down. And the one part about this too is that a lot of the things that made Jon Jones extraordinarily successful in the light heavyweight division, he may not bring all of those attributes to the main event. Now, he's kind of used to being, having the size, the reach advantage, the strength. He can bully guys around. That has been the way that he's been able to kind of find success. Listen, he's a top-level athlete, but moving up is going to change things. Gane is a guy who has fought at this weight pretty much his entire life. He's comfortable with it. He can sit in this division and be very comfortable. He does not move like a normal heavyweight does move either. But the thing about it also is you don't know the effects that it's going to have on Jon Jones in this fight. And you don't know if it's going to be cardio issue. You don't know if it's going to be, his movement and slow him down a little bit, slow down his quickness, the physicality of it. Is he going to have that on a guy in Gane who will probably be 20 pounds heavier than him going into fight night? And then the other part of this is going to be the 3-year layoff. That is very important. A 3-year layoff ring rust is real. Ring rust is real. Fighters talk about it all the time. Ring rust is a real thing. And I think you have to make sure that when you're looking at this, that you're comfortable at that level of a heavyweight mixing with the 3 years. And also, this is not a tune-up fight. This is not like he came in after 3 years at the heavyweight division and then said, hey, I'm going to fight someone that's ranked 9th or 10th. He's fighting high-level guy in this division. And if you look at it 3 years ago, Jon Jones, those 2 fights that he had, arguably that he lost both of those fights. Thiago Santos, very close fight with one leg. And then the other side of it, you got Reyes, who was landing big shots. I actually had Reyes winning that 3-2. But either way, was it the greatest performance? And lastly, I think the one thing you've got to look at when you're watching the main event on Saturday night is going to be the leg kicks. Gane has been able to fire leg kicks. He fires them on very often. He continues to fire those. We've seen that Jones has struggled when it comes to checking leg kicks against the last 2 opponents. So I think this is a spot where Ciryl Gane can really excel. He can have the striking. He can have the volume. He can have the pace. He'll be the bigger guy. I like Gane here. It's plus 140, I think, is a good price on a guy that's moving up a division and has been out for 3 years. So I'll take Gane to go out there and be the champ.
Yeah, and also, how long until after this fight until we hear, oh, well, John Jones hopping up a weight class, he actually tested positive for PEDs again. I'm just kidding. Now the comments are going to go wild. Oh, Dan, really, blah, blah. Yeah, well, it'll help the algorithm regardless. So we're looking at the dog in the main event. Love that breakdown. Check out Kyle Anthony, wt.buzz/KA. Get that 5% best bet available. He's looking to make it 6 straight in the octagon on these top rated plays. You also have a fight to watch that is not the main event, and another fight that we haven't covered here yet on Wager Talk Extra. So we're getting people all kinds of actionable info up and down the card. You got Garbrandt and you got Trevin Jones in your fight to watch. I'll turn the mic over to you, Kyle.
Yeah, this one here, now listen, we all know Cody Garbrandt does not have a good chin. He's the kind of guy that basically can get knocked out by a gust of wind. We get it, we know it, his chin's like a meme. But this guy has really good ability. He's got really good striking. He came into the UFC knocking guys out left and right, became the champion, looked absolutely impressive against Dominic Cruz, looking great. His boxing is good. The striking is good. The power, footwork. I mean, again, you talk a lot of these great things. The thing that's holding him back is his chin, and that has been an absolute problem for him. But if you look at Trevin Jones, he's kind of the same thing. Rangy guy, gonna have good boxing, can be explosive in certain spots. Now, that brings me to my real point of this and where I'm kind of heading to on a play is the fact that this has some legs, this fight. I know I just talked about how terrible his chin is, but this fight has some length to it. And I think the biggest reason is Trevin Jones does not throw punches. He is a guy that is extremely low level, low volume, doesn't throw high volume. Out of his last 4 fights, he has had less than 30 strikes landed. He is not a guy that's going to overwhelm with volume or stand in the pocket and just swing crazy. He's going to be very tactical, standing on the outside. His last 3 bouts, 2 of them went to a decision. The third one he ended up getting choked out late in that 3rd round. And I just think that Trevin Jones just doesn't let the hands go. It limits the opportunity for Cody to get clipped, to get rocked, to get all of those things too. And also, as long as Cody doesn't get emotional. If Cody doesn't get emotional, I think he can lengthen this fight, use some wrestling, get some takedowns, stay on the outside, use his footwork. A lot of those things help. Now, if you're looking at the line here, it's the over is 1.5 minus 120. I think that's a great number here. I think a lot of people are expecting a quick knockout. I think Cody protects the chin, stays on the outside. It's the bigger octagon. I think he's going to utilize his footwork, pitter-patter shots. So I do like that. I wouldn't mind a sprinkle Cody via points plus 450, but let's stick to the over 1.5 minus 120. I like the spot, and I think it comes in.
But the astute listeners heard that plus 450 sprinkle. And if you get it home, I'm bringing it up when we talk to you next week. So pitter patter, let's get at her. Cody Garbrandt is the way that Kyle Anthony is attacking that one. Kyle, when people head on over to your page to get that 5-star, 5% play, wt.buzz/KA, or just go to WagerTalk, search experts, find Kyle Anthony. What else are they going to find locked and loaded over there, brother?
Yeah, man, we're going for that 6, like I said, finding some good spots. Definitely have more plays I'm going to be adding to the package. Right now, 3, probably looking up at about 5 overall for this card, looking at some plus money as well, too. So like the spot. And again, like you said at the top of the show, it's a great card. And I'll sit back, sip some Casamigo, and watch this all cash in.
Are you sponsored by Casamigo? Maybe. You'll find out. Maybe on next week's edition. Huge thanks to Kyle Anthony. And now we're not done talking UFC. As a matter of fact, we're going to head on over to SportsMemo.com and get our thoughts from our man Moneyline Matt. He gets the last word on UFC 285 right after this here on Wager Talk Extra. The final say shall be had. And for that, we head to Detroit's finest, Moneyline Matt, sm.buzz/ML. And man, we've already set up UFC 285 as much as we can. So let's get right to the actionable info for the folks here today. You wanted to take a look at this Brunson fight, and I'm not even going to try and butcher the last name of the fighter he's going up against. You have to say it because that's who you like in the fight. So yep. I'm turning the mic over to you, Matt. What are we eyeing in fight number 1 here?
Hey, yeah, Dan, I'm going to do my best because I always butcher these names. But in this fight, we got Derek Brunson facing off against Dricus Plessis. And this is one of the fights for 285 this Saturday, and we'll be looking to bet Dricus in this spot. You know, Derek Brunson is now 39 years of age, coming off a recent loss to Jared Cannonier, lost in knockout fashion, and I personally believe that knockout was the initial strike to the downfall of Derek Brunson. For one, aging fighters are not a good bet within the UFC. They are, if you're betting the younger fighter, you're actually winning at over a 60% rate. So anytime you see a big age discrepancy and something along those lines, you tend to want to go with the younger fighter on top of that. Brunson is 23-8 overall. He's an experienced fighter throughout the UFC, primarily a wrestler. And Plessis does have some takedown issues coming into this bout. But with that being said, he tends to have those takedown issues when he gets tired because he's going for knockouts. I think he's going to correct himself coming into this fight. And since coming into the UFC, he's actually been running through opponents. He's 4-0 in the UFC, 18-2 overall. And coming into this, I believe Plessis is the far better striker when going up against Derek Brunson. And I see him stuffing the takedowns of Derek Brunson as well. If, in fact, he stuffs these takedowns for Derek Brunson, Brunson is not a very good striker. I give Dricus the huge advantage there, and I think we could actually see Brunson start to panic if he can't get any of those takedowns. So for me, that's the main path to victory here. I got Dricus Plessis defeating Derek Brunson in UFC 285, and on top of that, I think this is the downfall of Derek Brunson on top of that. We could even see him retire after the fight.
Absolutely. Oh, wow. You're calling for the retirement? They're going to beat him down so bad we could see the retirement now.
I could see it.
I wish we could bet on that. We could probably get some nice plus money on that, but we'll just take the double chance. KO, TKO, or on points. It's a little juicy, but you only play juice if the play doesn't get home. So, hey, this is one of the matches that Kyle Anthony broke down on Wager Talk today. It's Ricci and Penne. And I'm intrigued by how you're going to be breaking this one down because I think this is a pretty close matchup if you're just looking at on paper. So what does Moneyline Matt think about Ricci Penne?
Yeah, this is kind of a similar scenario to that of Derek Brunson and Dricus. You know, Jessica Penne and Tabatha Ricci face off at UFC 285. This is a prelim bout, and Jessica Penne comes into this fight 14-6 overall within the UFC and has lost 4 of her last 6 bouts. Penne is 5'5" and 40 years of age at this point in time and surely has the experience over Ricci. But once again, I like to take these younger fighters when going against an aging UFC veteran like Jessica Penne. Again, 40 years of age, she's starting to wind down, and I personally don't think that she is going to be able to handle the blitzing style of Tabatha Ricci. You know, Ricci is not the best striker throughout the UFC, but she's very good at getting her takedown. She's very good in that blitzing style approach, getting her opponent to the ground, getting that control time on top of that. Ricci is 5'2" and 28 years of age, and again, like I said before, she focuses on that blitzing style approach where she gets opponents to the ground, has ground control, ground and pound, things of that nature. And Tabatha Ricci is typically a fighter who wins by decision, okay? And that's why in this bout, we're going to be looking at Tabatha Ricci by decision, exact outcome, and that's minus 125 in this spot. You know, she's won 5 of her last 6 fights, 3 by decision, 1 by KO, and 1 by submission, and 1 losing by KO or TKO. And again, so she's hitting that decision at over a 50% or at a 50% rate over her last 6 fights. And with the experience of Jessica Penne, I don't think she's going to get knocked out. And on top of that, I don't think Ricci has the power to get her out of that cage, knock her out, TKO her, anything along those lines. Penne in her 20 fights has only been finished 3 times, okay? And that was by Jessica Andrade and Joanna Jevchenko. I can't say that one either. But again, so she's very tough to get knocked out. I think Tabatha Ricci is going to use her blitzing style approach here. She's a smaller style fighter too. She's 5'2", 5'1", so easier to get those legs, those takedowns. In this spot, I got Tabatha Ricci dominating and actually winning by a decision at the end. So grab this exact outcome, Tabatha Ricci, minus 125. This is going to be an official play for me over on SportsMemo as well.
So you're getting a client play right here. Moneyline Matt saying, keep your Penne for Penne alla vodka. I thought of the joke while you were talking. It was horrible. I had to say it. I'm sorry.
Hey, I
It
loved
gets
it.
stuck in my head, and there's nothing I can do but let it out. So, Matt, speaking of, running hot, getting these things home, how about how you've been doing on the hardwood, dude? 9-3 in your last 12, up 13 units, fresh off a $2 Tuesday win. So hopefully people bought in on that one. And I think you also got home like a plus 253 same game parlay. The SGP King continues to crush it, and people can get all access 7 days using code HOOP7, just $39. And I know you're pretty pumped about that because you've been making the clients money night after night.
Oh, yeah. Right now down the NBA stretch, this is when we get hot. This is when you can count on minutes a little bit more. This is when the top players have to come to play. The stars have to ball out. So, yeah, seeing the NBA very well right now. That $2 Tuesday was so pumped to get that hit for everyone. And like I was saying before, I'm starting to add some mini SGPs into my plays to give you guys a little extra value. Always want to bring you guys the best value possible. And not only did we hit the Tuesday $2 play of the day, we also hit that same game parlay. So hopefully you guys got that one. Feeling good. Got 3 NBA plays loaded right now, 3 UFC plays loaded. So we are ready to roll this weekend and just trying to cash some more tickets.
Absolutely. And make sure you hit him with a follow on Twitter at MoneylineMatt8. Terrific stuff there. And he's also dropping the non-client releases, same game parlays, and he gets home some of these that just blow your mind. So ride along with my man, Moneyline Matt. Check him out at sportsmemo.com. And folks, you should be more than prepared for UFC 285. I mean, we gave away so many free plays here all week long on WagerTalk Extra. So we're going to step aside, and then we're going to shut things down. We're going to go from the octagon to inside the ring. We're going to talk a little boxing with Kevin Dolan and also a little Friday soccer action right after this on WagerTalk Extra. Welcome on back here to WagerTalk Extra. No better way we like to end the week than with the best accent at WagerTalk.com. It's the Irishman, Kevin Dolan. We're going to be talking a little soccer, a little boxing. And Kev, always good to have you on. How was the weekend for you last week since we talked last? How have things been running as we're heading on into the weekend?
Yeah, all good, Dan. Came off a nice 3-0 sweep last night on the card, 2-0 in NBA, 1-0 in soccer. Yeah, life's good right now. Scotland let us down last week on the show, 25-21. We were covering up until the last minute. France got that try. I was about to say touchdown there, but yeah, look, all good right now, and look to continue that into the weekend.
Yeah, and we'll keep getting you some rugby action here only on Wager Talk Extra. Big thanks to Kevin Dolan joining us here. So, Kevin, let's do one of your true fortes, and we talk soccer each and every Tuesday and Thursday on Stoppage Time. You have an extra soccer look for the pitch fans out there. We got Lazio playing Napoli, and how are you going to breaking down this one? You see on the screen there some first half numbers, so is that the way we're attacking it?
Yeah. I like that, Dan, here. Top 4 clash over in Italy this Friday, obviously. And, with Roma's surprise loss to Cremonese on Tuesday night as well, that puts Lazio in the driver's seat now in terms of grabbing a Champions League spot for next season. They sit a point above Roma, but, they have a massive test in front of them this Friday night in Napoli inside the Diego Maradona. This Napoli side, they're in some impervious form right now. And, it's funny because while a lot of Serie A teams have kind of threw off the shackles of the past, this has always been a traditionally lower scoring league. We're seeing the likes of Napoli, Atalanta, Sassuolo, even Juventus banging in 4 goals, start to take a much more front foot heavy approach. But that hasn't been the case with this Lazio team. Maurizio Sarri has this team playing absolutely lights out at the back. Especially early in games. 20 of their 24 first halves this season have been accompanied with a clean sheet. That's by far and away the highest frequency out of any team across any of Europe's top 5 leagues right now. And even the 4 games out of 20 where they did allow a goal in that first half, they never gave up more than one. So this is a team that knows how to play defense. And they face a team on the other side here, Napoli, that ranks right along with them. Napoli have given up just 7 goals across their 24 first halves this year in Serie. That ranks number 2 right behind Lazio. So no surprises for them going in this one. I just don't see a lot of action here, especially early, in the first half, given how dominant these two teams have been defensively. And, the under 1 goal in the first half is going off at even money. I like that play on Friday.
Oh, we love even money plays here. Anything that has a plus next to it, it's easy to talk your your host over here into riding with you. So we're looking at that first half under one. Let's keep that defense stout. Let's not even test the goalies. Let's have it a nice, easy, non-sweat under one in the first half. That's Lazio and Napoli. And Kev, before we get into this boxing play, you see below us, if people want to ride with you for 30 days, soccer's been running great. It's a sport that you've specialized in your entire time here at WagerTalk, and they can take $100 off your 30-day all access using that code KICK100, correct? And tell them what they're going to be getting with that.
Yeah, as you said, we're running that half-price 30-day soccer all access offer right now, Dan, over at WagerTalk. You can check it out over on the deals page. Using code KICK100. And look, there's an absolute ton of action in soccer over the next week. EPL, MLS kicked off last week. All the European leagues, plus obviously Champions League and Europa League returning next week as well. So, great time to jump on board.
The homer here is never going to pass up on a chance to mention, hey, you guys also saw the 5 goals dropped by my Philadelphia Union in MLS action. So hopefully you took the over in that one, Kev. Hey, let's talk a little boxing. You have a match that you want to set up here that's going this weekend. It's Saturday. Figueroa and Magsayo. How are you going to be looking at this one, Kev?
Yeah, look, I know that it's kind of funny because I probably come on this show pretty much every week and lay out why this is one of the fights of the year. This is going to be an all-out war. But this time, I mean it. This fight is going to be an absolute insta classic on Saturday. Mark it on your calendars. Both fighters on the comeback trail after getting their respective world titles stripped off them, over the last 18 months or so. Magsayo losing a split decision against Ray Vargas last summer. Brandon Figueroa losing a majority decision to Stephen Fulton back in November 2021 as well. So really looking forward to this one on Saturday.
Yeah, and so basically Kevin tells you that he's lying every single week when he says he's looking forward to this fight. But this time he means it, so believe him if you want. Well, Kev, regardless if it's fight of the year, regardless if it's an undercard, we don't care here on WagerTalk Extra. We just want some action. So what are we looking at in this one?
Well, right off the bat, actually, I do believe the underdog Mark Magsayo's mispriced here, plus 250. Looks a little big here on the Filipino fighter, in my opinion. I wouldn't dissuade anyone from taking a nibble of that outright price here on the Filipino in this one. But saying that, while I do believe Magsayo is arguably a little undervalued here on the outright markets, there's no question he's going to face some difficulty in this fight from a style perspective. Magsayo's a fighter who, while he has a good inside game, he nevertheless thrives in that mid-range area, where he can create that little bit of distance to then jump in, predominantly use, come in off the lead left foot, deliver those hard combinations. He has an absolutely hellacious overhand right that he uses to great effect as well. He was continually catching Vargas in that last fight as well. Put Vargas down late in that one also. But, space is just something you're not going to find against Brandon Figueroa. He makes opponents fight his type of fight. He drags you, into that attritional type of warfare. And look, if that's the case, 9 times out of 10, he's going to get his hand raised in that one. Lewis Neri, who, we saw stop a very tough Crazy Hovhannissian 2 weeks ago. Figueroa folded Neri up in 7 rounds in that fight. Neri simply couldn't live with the pace. And even Stephen Fulton, who's one of the best fighters in the sport, he looked vulnerable in parts in the mid portion of their fight as well. And, that's mainly because of not only Figueroa's aggressiveness, but also his output. No other current active fighter in boxing today has a higher average total punch output per round than Brandon Figueroa does. 92.9 per round. Absolutely insane numbers. And more importantly, that's a very fan-friendly style, obviously. It's a very judge-friendly style. And that's going to be very hard for a fighter like Magsayo to overcome here. So, Magsayo is a dangerous fighter, no question. He's already proven himself at the highest level in this sport. He's beaten Gary Russell. He gave Ray Vargas. That fight, potentially could have went either way. But to me, this is just a bad stylistic matchup for Magsayo against, that fan-friendly, high-pressure style of Figueroa. So, I like the American fighter in this one by decision. I don't think he'll have enough to stop Magsayo. He's tough in there. That's going off a plus 135 this weekend, but this should be a fantastic fight over in California this Saturday.
I know no other show where analysis includes nibble on the Filipino. So we are looking towards Brandon Figueroa when all is said and done. Decision, technical decision, plus 135. Kev, we already told people, and they see it below, use that code KICK 100. Kevin is running hot here in soccer, one of his best sports. So ride with him for 30-day all access, every play, every league. Take $100 off that using code KICK100. Well, Kevin, always a pleasure having you on, man. I'm sure we'll be bringing you back, maybe some rugby action. Who knows what you're going to come back with next. And that's going to shut it down for another week here for us on Wager Talk Extra. Big thanks to all our guests all week long. Thanks to you, the listeners and viewers, joining us here on Wager Talk Extra. Make sure you check out the guys both at WagerTalk.com and SportsMemo.com, and we'll be back here locked and loaded Tuesday evening right here on Wager Talk Extra.